I didn't do enough to stop my friend's inappropriate relationship with our teacher. I didn't do enough to stop my friend's inappropriate relationship with our teacher. This is a story I often reflect upon. I started high school in 2013 and graduated in 2017, attending a modest-sized school, around 1,000 kids, in a small town of around 40,000 people. We had just one other high school in the area. I'd been friends with Nancy since elementary school. We played soccer together and got along really well. Our friendship reignited in freshman year when we found ourselves in the same social circle. Nancy was an incredibly inspiring person, creative and unique in so many ways, which caused people to get drawn to her quickly. She always reminded me of the manic pixie dream girls in movies. We'd frequently venture to the nearest city to shop and explore, driven by my dad. Nancy, whose father had left when she was young, seemed particularly taken with my dad, often remarking how cool he was and how she wishes he was her dad, which I found a bit strange. Nancy and I shared many classes because we both took honors and AP courses. Over the years, Mr. Anderson was our English teacher for 3 out of our 4 years in high school. A decent-looking guy, Mr. Anderson, probably 38 or so our freshman year, was recently divorced and connected well with creative/artsy students like us. Initially, Nancy's relationship with Mr. Anderson seemed like a normal teacher-student dynamic, but it gradually grew more intense. They started texting about school and shared music interests. We warned Nancy that it was odd for a teacher to text her, but she brushed it off. Eventually, we told Nancy's mom, who reported it to the school. Unfortunately, the school did little more than instruct them to stop texting and sharing a classroom. Mr. Anderson remained employed, facing virtually no consequences. After that, Nancy became increasingly distant. One of the last times we interacted was when we saw her running near the town's lake, trailed closely by Mr. Anderson. She quickly dismissed our concerns when we called her to warn her that he was behind her. Soon after, she cut off contact with us and disappeared from social media. She started taking college prep classes at a community college and stopped enrolling in classes at RHS, effectively vanishing from our lives for over a year. We tried to get in contact with her literally all the time, but to no avail. The last time I saw her in person was at our graduation, where she ignored me completely when I tried to talk to her. About a year ago, I stumbled upon her Instagram profile and saw she was pregnant. Scrolling further, I saw pictures of Mr. Anderson. They were married and expecting. The realization was devastating. Nancy had been groomed, and I had failed to grasp the severity of the situation at the time. Today, they're still married with 2 kids, and Mr. Anderson continues to teach at a high school near Seattle. I follow her on Instagram and watch her posts and stories still and see they are trying for a third. I literally think about this every day and wish I did more. I was a stupid kid who didn't understand the gravity of all this and never thought anything would come out of it. I always thought she stopped contact with us because we told her mom. But now I realize, is that she was abused and her abuser purposely isolated her from us. I want to say his real name so badly and ruin his life because he is AP*2, abuser, and grandmommer. But I don't want to hurt Nancy or her 2 babies. Comment. It comes to a certain point where there's only so much you can do. I'm surprised her parents didn't get involved, but she isolated herself. You tried to help her and that's all that you could have done. Oh wow, so it seems she was extremely groomed at that point. I feel for her and hope she is doing well. You're a really good friend for looking out for her. You were also a kid, and when you were just a kid you did the right thing and told her mom. Her mom did the right thing and informed the school. The school and school board ultimately failed your friend. I think it's time you try to let it go and be kinder to your younger self, because you were also just a kid. It's sad to say, but sometimes there isn't much you can do. Ultimately, she will eventually figure it out herself. And correct it if she feels the need to. The most you can do now is wait. Wait for her to reach out. I would say you could reach out to her, but it's been so many years that the credibility you had back in the day probably wouldn't hold up in the long run. So the only way that would work if she's already thinking about leaving or the weirdness of their meeting. If she's a smart girl or he's truly abusive to her, she will figure it out. Believe in her ability. You are taking a lot of autonomy away from someone who is a married adult. Saying she is brainwashed and doesn't understand is a big stretch for someone who obviously doesn't want to be contacted by you. You said you know she was purposely isolated from you. That could easily be as wrong as the rest. She's had a million opportunities for contact, as you said, from you reaching out. Maybe she doesn't want to talk to person who tried and push her out of her relationship. Not saying the beginnings aren't, but the opportunity to do something is past now, and she probably didn't decide to have 2 children and 1 on the way because she is brainwashed miserable. Story 2. My boyfriend of 10 years cheated on me. How do I keep going after this? I never thought I was going to be in this situation, but I suppose everyone feels like that. I don't know how to restart my life without him, and maybe it is worth it to give us another shot. I don't want to lose 10 years. And I don't want to lose him. I met him as an exchange student in my freshman year, and since I had no one else but my host family, we kinda became very attached from the start. His family became my family, always taking care of me, and his friends my friends. We did long distance for a year, and when he graduated from high school, he also spent a gap year in my city, living with my grandma. The same thing of being very attached continued because he didn't know anyone outside my family and friends. When I graduated, I tried for a bunch of colleges close to where he and his family lived and got accepted into one. He was living on campus and his parents opened their home for me. Something I consider important to be said is that, at this point, before I moved away from my family and country, I kinda of realized how young we were when we started, and that we got very serious very fast. I had a lot of talks with him about it. I was always sure about him, but if he wasn't sure, I didn't want to move across the continent and grow my life around him, just for him to regret it later. Additionally, we came to an agreement that we would do so until we got married. We have never been intimate. I don't care much about it and have never had a strong opinion on the subject. Not to say I don't feel attracted to him, but not being intimate isn't an issue for me, but this is a request for him. Now fast forward to now, he got his own place after graduation, many years ago, and I still live with his parents. I wanted to move, but he and his family convinced me that it would be a waste of money we could be saving for our wedding and that it wasn't safe for me to live alone. This last Friday I was going to come visit my parents, but my flight got cancelled. My in-laws had a friend's party on that day, and I decided to go to my boyfriend's apartment. I normally don't sleep there, because of the waiting till marriage thing, but I have the key for situations like these. I normally sleep on the couch and go back to his parents' house the other day. I didn't warn him about my change of plans because he told me he wouldn't be online while my flight was taking off because he had an important working meeting and couldn't get distracted. I didn't want to interrupt, so I just went to his place. You can imagine the rest, right? I walked in, and he was kissing a girl on his couch, in a very heated way. I was shocked. I don't need to go into the details of our argument, but the important thing is that he said he really did this out of love for me. The audacity of this man, because he didn't want to seem inexperienced when we finally got intimate, so he met other girls just for the hell of it, nothing romantic. He was always thinking of me. I don't understand why he made me wait when in the end it didn't matter much to him. I'm just confused. He's the one who doesn't want an intimate relationship. Why didn't he tell me about it? Saturday, I got on my flight, cried the whole 8 hours on the plane, and came to spend the week with my parents. My in-laws called me, and my mill told me that I should forgive him. He did it out of love, and a man needed to try out new things to make sure they made a good decision, that she was sure he would always choose me. I was the right girl. She also said horrible things about girls having intimate relationships before marriage and how we were different. But from the beginning, I asked him if he was sure. Then why didn't he tell me then? Just let me find out 10 years later, okay? I hated him for not being as certain as I was, for needing some other form of confirmation. Now my flight is coming up on Saturday and I don't know what to do. My friends from home and family are telling me to dump him, but it is not that simple, you know? We started so young that I don't even know how to live without him. My life and his are intertwined. I don't have a single penny to my name. We always put everything into our shared bank accounts, and all the money saved is for our shared dreams. I don't even have a place to go in the US, because all I have is his family and his friends. I don't have a life outside of him, and maybe that's why he cheated, and that makes me consider forgiving him. It must be claustrophobic, right? Having someone whose life revolves around you. But this is something we can fix. Also, he is my best friend, he is my person, you know? If he did this to me, I can't believe that anyone else wouldn't do it. At least he is the love of my life, right? I'm just confused and lost. I don't know what to do from here. I feel like I will have to restart my life from zero without him and lose my best friend, and my second family. And maybe he did it out of good intentions in the wrong way? I don't know.